The Power of Four is the first book in the Legacy of the Goddess series. It is a tale of fantasy, magic, and adventure, set in ancient Egypt in the mythical village of Neten on the banks of the great sacred river. Chapter 17. The Power of Four. The small group walked with Bodhi leading the way. They were still a long way off from home. They wanted to reach Neten as soon as possible. They had reached the river port of Ezra and saw the boat for Neten about to leave. They jumped on the boat which would take them to Neten. Ezra's bag dropped. He hurriedly bent over to pick it up. He stood up and suddenly he could not find anyone. He was surprised. He looked among the crowd of people in the boat but could not see his friends. He felt his heart go cold. He did not know what to do. He got down hurriedly from the boat. He looked everywhere but could not find his friends. He saw the boat for Neten leaving. 2 men were following him. He felt his heart beating fast with fear. He called on the goddess to help. All he wanted was to find his father. What was so bad about it, he thought. It was not as if he had some big treasure with him. He was a poor boy whose friends were helping him. What happened to them? The magician saw Ezra from far and smiled. He could see Ezra's friends get down from the boat along with him, waving and shouting to him, but Ezra could neither hear nor see them. Maruth was surprised when the fog fell over them. The 4 of them were surrounded by a thick mist. They could not hear each other, though they could see. They were bound by powerful magic. They held each other's hands. They followed Ezra silently. There was nothing they could do, unless Ezra found a solution and released them from their prison of mist. Ezra walked on till he could not walk any more. He was tired and thirsty. He sat down and looked up at the sky, remembering his childhood with his grandmother. She was dear to him. He felt sorry for himself. He started to have doubts whether his mother was right about him, ready for the journey, or she just said it to make him happy. He began to fear that his father, whom he loved very much, would be lost forever. "Ezra, get up and walk towards the desert," whispered a soft voice. "Look for the North Star. Meditate on it." The moon had come up. The air was cool. It was evening when he reached the desert. He laid a cloth on the sand and sat cross-legged with his back straight. He closed his eyes and meditated on the North Star. Memories of his childhood came rushing back. The light from the lamp cast shadows of him and his grandmother on the wall. He sat listening to his grandmother. It was very soothing. She had a soft voice, and she had many stories to tell of gods and goddesses. When he was 6, he would love to hear them. Sometimes she would even make shadows of animals and birds on the wall with her fingers, and he would try to do the same. They would pretend they were chasing one another. It was so much fun. He shared a special bond with his grandmother. She always knew if he was feeling sad, and sitting with her made the sad feeling go away. When he turned 15, he still loved to sit by her side, but her stories had changed now. Now she told stories of faraway places, of ancient kings and queens, of battles won, battles lost, and most of all, tales of their sacred river and boats that sailed on her waters. Sometimes they discussed his studies. She, on her part, taught him many lessons that he realized later were important for his survival. He remembered how one day, as he was telling her about this great temple being constructed for the sun god, "The temple is very big. They have great statues of the deities. There are several," and his grandmother suddenly interrupted him and said, Did you know that there is an inner temple too? And this temple is your own body? No, I didn't, said Ezra. His grandmother was a wise woman. He wondered if someday he would be as wise as her. And you must take care of your body temple. And like the temple outside, it must be kept clean and well nourished so that it serves you well, explained his grandmother. Your body temple houses smaller temples, the temples of water, fire, air, and earth. Too much of any one element can cause an imbalance in your inner temple. So, balance of all four must be maintained for a strong body and mind. How does my inner temple serve me? Asked Ezra. Your inner temple reflects your outer world, and the outer world too can affect your inner temple. How does the inner temple reflect the outside world? Asked Ezra. Your thoughts and feelings are your inner world. This inner world of ours is connected to the outer world. They are not separate from each other. You can change your outer world, how you see it and experience it, by changing your thoughts. A happy person will see a happy world outside. An angry person will see an angry world around him, said his grandmother. Your inner temple can help you navigate through life with ease if you allow it. Ezra was surprised. He had never thought of temples this way. How can I be happy so that I see a happy world outside? Asked Ezra. By doing something you love. That is how we serve the goddess, our people, ourselves. There is no other way, said his grandmother. Do the gods and goddesses live in our body too, Grandma? Asked Ezra. He had often asked this question, but his grandmother would always change the subject. You will learn about them when you grow up. There are many gods and goddesses. It is not easy to understand them, said his grandmother, not wanting to divulge much. No, no, tell me, now please, Grandma, I want to know, pleaded Ezra. His grandmother knew many secrets, which she did not reveal easily. Listen very carefully, for this is sacred knowledge. Among the many deities we know, we start with the four. They are known as the four sons of Horus. They assist in powerful magic. To the east of the temple stands Khebsenuf, who represents the element of fire, who protects the intestines and has the head of a falcon. To the west there is Imset, who represents the element of air and protects the liver, whose image is that of a human. To the north there is the Amutef, who represents the element of earth and guards the stomach and has the head of a jackal. And to the south there is Hapi, who represents water and protects the lungs and who has the head of a baboon. Hapi is an important deity for us, who controls the annual flooding of our sacred river. Why do they have heads of animals? Asked Ezra. Each animal is known for one trait or essence that helps it to survive. The heads on the deities signify those qualities, said his grandmother. And at the center there is Khepri, the sacred scarab. Khepri represents the heart and the fifth element, spirit or life force. The elements correspond to certain shapes, like the pyramid for fire, the cube for earth, the spear for air, the crescent for water, and the egg for spirit. In a ritual, the fire is contained in the wick in the lamp, earth is contained in the salt or clay of the lamp, air is contained in the smoke of the incense, sacred river represents water, and oil that we pour over the deity is Sa. In our tradition, we call these elements Ta, As, Nu, and Sa. Do the four deities protect us if we call them? Asked Ezra. You're asking more and more questions. Yes, one can call them for protection if one senses danger, said his grandmother. The 4 cardinal directions can help us from getting lost, explained his grandmother. Like the North Star, Grandma, exclaimed Ezra. Yes, the North Star points to the north of the land. It helps travelers in the dark find their way. You're a clever boy, Ezra, said his grandmother. If you know about the stars, you will always find your way home. Ezra was pleased. He loved to point out these little things to his grandmother while she is telling her stories. Our sacred great river gives us our food and sustenance. We travel on her waters on our boats. She takes care of our people. She is the protector and keeper of secrets. Grandma, when we carry out a ritual in the altar, the lamp is lit, the water is poured, the incense is ignited, and the salt is uncovered, and last, the oil is poured over the deity. All the 5 elements are used, said young Ezra excitedly. Yes, yes, you're right, Ezra, said his grandmother. She was an excellent teacher. The oil represents the Sa. The 5 elements are always present in a ritual or any action that we take, said his grandmother. What is the Sa? Asked Ezra curiously. The Sa binds all creations to the Creator. It is the life force, said his grandmother. So the 4 directions are ruled by the 4 deities. They also protect the 4 important organs in our body, which are connected to the 4 elements, air, water, fire, and earth, one interconnected with the other, said Ezra. Yes, one element in balance and in harmony with the other, laughed his grandmother. And do you know what lies between 4 directions? Asked his grandmother. No, answered Ezra. It was getting difficult for him to understand. Divinity, said his grandmother, raising her hands up in the air with palms facing each other, a typical sign she would make every time she talked of the goddess. Sometimes it is difficult to understand you, Grandma, said Ezra, yawning. I know, dear, sighed the grandmother. Do you think the goddess listens to you? Asked Ezra. Of course she does, said his grandmother. She loves my stories. When you meet the goddess, she will answer all your questions, she said. Ezra had never seen the goddess. He felt she must be someone important, like the kings and queens in his grandmother's stories. He hoped to meet her one day. For me, you are the goddess, Grandma, said Ezra, his eyes slowly closing. He was fast asleep in no time. The goddess, listening to the grandmother teaching her grandson, smiled in the moonlight. It was moments such as these that she cherished. Ezra remembered the teachings of his grandmother. He wanted to be that little boy again, sleeping on his grandma's lap, free from all worries in the world. Now he was being followed by people he did not know. His friends had disappeared, he did not know why, and the person whom he loved the most was missing. Change your thoughts, change your outer world, whispered a soft voice. He brushed the dust off his clothes and got up. Calm and focused, he began to gather his thoughts. He had come a long way. He could not turn back now. The only way to go was forward. He decided not to give up. He had to come up with a plan. Thoughtfully, he traced a circle around him in the sand. Thank you for listening. This was a chapter from The Legacy of the Goddess, Power of 4. Tune in every Friday for a new chapter. You can also buy the whole book right now. Visit legacyofthegoddess.gumroad.com to buy The Power of 4 in both written and audio format, as well as a special discounted bundle.